Hello everyone, this is session number 2 of the isometric interior. This session I was trying to find ways of improving the contrast between the different areas because the image was pretty much muddled together. All the colors were within the earth tones, and I sort of felt that the shading was also very flat. Now I'm trying to add here some extra shadows here on the top of the building, the shelves. Also change the color of the books on the shelves on the right, just to create a higher sense of volume, of depth. And I'm adding that sort of ambient occlusion shapes on the ground as well. One of the things that I didn't like about the previous one was the carpet. So in this one, I'm recreating the carpet. I'm just making a newer one, making it more rectangular, but adding just a fold here at the end. And I'm using freeform transformation for that, just out of the fact that it's quicker. But I do repaint the pixels. So here's what I did. I just took a new layer and painted it blue, semi-transparent on top of everything. Changed it to multiply. And this gave me a blue tint on everything. And then I erased a bit out of that blue, which would allow me to see the colors from the layers underneath the way they used to be. And then I gradually started carving away shadows of the object in the scene. So what I'm pretending here in the end is that I'm pretending that there's a hole in the ceiling where the moonlight can shine through. And this way, I'll basically be adding an area of interest in that spot where the leaves are, just to sort of draw the eye towards that place. Oddly enough, that place is also where most of the detail is. Of course, the fireplace is a big element in the scene, but that bit there with the trees and the leaves and the door, as well as the table, that kind of is drawing a lot of the attention onto that spot. These kind of little specks of light or specks of dust in the light shape were actually suggested by one of the people in the chat that actually suggested that it would be cool. So I added really quickly, and it was actually added a little bit more visual interest. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to bleed the colors from the spotlight, so to speak, onto the rest of the scene or rest of the elements nearby. So you see that transition on the ground as well as on the top of the table. And then I add those little reflected lights on the edges of the bookshelves just to give them a bit more character, a bit more interest. I also make the spot on the ground is where the light is the strongest, because there's where the light is going to bounce back. The other thing I do is I add a fire to the fireplace for two reasons. One, it makes the scene live, and it kind of starts to tell the story, like this is an abandoned building, but not really completely abandoned. But it also breaks my palette into a wider range of tones, from the blues and greens and browns also to the yellows and reds. And with this, I can start adding not only those interesting reflections on the edges of the objects that are facing the fireplace, but as well that sort of pool of red at the center of the fireplace on the ground. Just again, to give it a little bit more, more interest and a bit more just detail and richness to the image. It takes me quite a lot of time to find a light or a color that I like there on the ground. So what I'm doing is I'm gradually picking different colors and different shades of the same color to kind of see if I can get a nice look that'll be a bit more interesting. And I'm quite happy with this orange, just for the fact that it actually makes sense in the image. Here I think I'm explaining how to resize an image in pixel art. You never want to resize an image in amounts that are not equal to multiplications of 100%. So always scale in 100%, 200%, 300%, etc. Never do 150 or 270. That doesn't make sense. It'll break the scale of your pixels. So the other details that were missing in the scene were the decorations on the walls. And what I do for these is a couple of crossing swords, or actually these are not. These are like fencing swords. And these are stuck onto a kind of a shield. It's a backing of a trophy. I don't know the name for it. But what I do is I copy that and I take away all the swords and I make that as a base for a deer head. So just draw the shape really quickly in kind of an isometric perspective as well. And this deer, because it's close to the fireplace, you can get some bounced light off of the off of the light of the fireplace, and then I have this soft light at the top of the head. I remove the one there on the right because what I want to do is I want to bring it over to the light side, and because it's on the light spot, I can now add a big reflected light coming in from the moonlight as well. Also, I don't shade the whole thing because I don't want it to look like there's a pool of light coming from everywhere or that it covers the whole object. And to add to the details of the scene, I just go in and add these books as a way to just make them more interesting, and also to kind of gradually break the spaces on the ground. So you can see that near the spotlight, where the light is hitting on the floor, there's detail there because the colors are contrasting. But in the other places where the colors are not that contrasting, I feel like the places, the spots are empty, and I kind of feel like there's a lot of detail to be had that is not being taken advantage of. So these plates and the chalices are basically tools to just break this space in those areas, make sure that those areas look a little bit more interesting and detailed than they really are. I'm playing around here with a little bit more softer transition between these two colors, and I end up by adding this chair on the ground again because it's more elements to tell a story rather than just putting a normal chair sitting up straight next to the table, which would make more sense but be a lot less interesting in my opinion. And this is pretty much overall how the image looks. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll see you some other time.